Evening, Miss Jo. Good evening, classmates. I am Miyuki, and today we are going to discuss about rubrics as an assessment tool. So, to start with the definitions of rubrics, we have here in the net.
Thank you, Miyuki, for the introduction. So, to start with, what is really rubric assessment? First is rubric assessment is a systematic scoring guideline to evaluate students' performance like papers, speeches, problem solutions, portfolios, cases through the use of a detailed description of performance level. For the additional of what I mentioned earlier, rubrics is used to get consistent scores across all students. It also allows students to be more aware of the expectation for performance and consequently improve their performance. So, and also, why do we use rubrics? We use rubrics to make grading consistent and fair. Also, we use rubrics help to clarify expectation to both students and faculty. Rubrics save time in the grading process once they have been developed. So, in my own explanation and in my own understanding, why use rubrics? Because it can help to identify areas for improvement, and also it helps track changes in student performance over time.
We're already done discussing about the definition of rubrics and why we use rubrics in the classroom. So now I am going to talk about the types of rubrics. So we all know that we have different types of rubrics, but these are the two most common used rubrics. So now we have here holistic and analytic rubrics. So to start it off, let's have holistic. So holistic consists of a single scale with all criteria to be considered together. A single score is assigned, and also instructor scores the overall process or assignment as a whole without judging component parts separately. So, in short, holistic rubrics provide a single score based on an overall impression of students' performance on a task. It is used to score student work as a whole, yielding one holistic score. So, when it comes to holistic rubrics, the students are graded as a whole. Um, ang iyang criteria sa pag-grade is kanang dili siya individually but as a whole. So later on, we'll be talking about the advantage and disadvantages of holistic, and at the same time the examples of ballistic. Okay, so next we have here analytic. So in analytic rubrics, it is breaks the objective into components parts. Also, each portion is scored independently using a rating scale, and the final score is made up of adding each component parts. So sa analytic rubrics, it judge each individual characteristic of a performance separately. So in analytic rubrics, this is more specific and more detailed kay tagsa-tagsa man ang iyang gigraduhan by category ang iyang gigraduhan, unlike sa holistic nga as a whole ang paggrado. Okay, so now let's have here the advantage and disadvantage of a holistic rubrics. For the advantage, quick scoring provides an overview of student achievement, and for its disadvantage, it does not provide detailed information. May be difficult to provide one overall score. So, ang advantage holistic, of course, mas dali siya graduhan kay dili man siya specific, dili detailed ang paggrado kundi as a whole man siya. And ang iyang disadvantage is dili siya specific, and at the same time ang iyang paggrado kay dili man ingon bias pero dili clear sa student kung asa sila ilang weakness or ang ilang strength kay as a whole man ang paggrado. So, let's have here the example of holistic rubrics. So, mauni siya ang example sa holistic rubrics. So, for example, na atay activity. For example, drama activity. So, di ba, kung maghimo og rubrics ang teacher, gamiton nilang holistic. Di ba, kakita naman taan ni. Let's start it with for example, let's start it with 0 points, 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points. So, for example, sa 0 point, so magdepende na siya sa criteria sa teacher. For example, 0 point siya kay kanang dili mo wala mo kauyon sa performance sa student. So mag 1 point siya kung murag para sa inyo ha, okay lang. And 2 points kung somehow makakita dyan mo nga effort yung kaayo siya. And 3 points kung excellent na siya. So, ingana ra siya pag grade which is simple ra siya pero at the same time kanang wala siya'y specific ba nga makaingon ka asa ang weakness ug strength sa usa ka student. So, mao na siya nga kung holistic rubric siya, dali ra tuod ang pag-grade but kanang murag vague kaayo or dili kaayo klaro sa inyo ha ba kung unsay strength o weakness sa inyong performance. That's holistic rubrics. So, let's all next we have the advantage and disadvantage of an analytic rubrics. Okay. So for analytic rubrics, ang advantage niya is the criterion can be weighed to reflect the relative importance of each criteria. And its disadvantage is it takes more time to create and use. Also, it is time consuming when scoring. So again, we have here the example of analytic rubric. So mauni siya ang for example, when it comes to writing or essays. So again, katong sa advantage niya kay 'di ba kanang mas detail siya, mas specific siya sa pag-grade and at the same time ang iyang disadvantage of course it takes time when grading or scoring a performance or an activity. So kani siya sa iyang example makita ninyo nga for example magsuwat og essay. So, lahi ang inyong pag-grade sa idea, explanation, lahi ang inyong pag-grade sa coherency, lahi po ang inyong pag-grade sa iyang grammar. So, tulo pa gani siya ha, pero somehow time consuming na siya and very detailed kayo kay o naa diri. Graduhan ninyo siya 9 to 10 kung thoroughly explained siya, kung extremely coherent or excellent performance siya or excellent ang iyang kanang work. And 7 to 8 kung good lang and 5 to 6 kung satisfactory or 0 to 4 kung needs improvement. So here in the analytical rubric is kanang mas detailed siya and at the same time kay kanang kanang naa-jud siya'y basihan ba nya makita jud ninyo diri sa analytic ang iyang strength and weaknesses. So that's it for holistic and analytic rubrics. Next, we'll be having the rubric development and the components of rubrics. So it will be discussed by my group mate Regina Ihapon. Thank you.
Rubrics development. So first is clearly define the assignment. What are the common expectations across instructors? Second is consider what student learning outcomes will be assessed. For example, for a senior seminar paper, outcomes related to writing and critical thinking may be assessed, as well as more discipline-specific outcomes. Third is determine the key criteria that you are interested in. For example, for the senior seminar paper, what aspects of writing will be assessed? Organization or mechanics. Fourth is clearly define those criteria. So, what do you mean by organization or what does organized writing look like? 5 is establish clear and detailed descriptors for each performance level for each criteria. So using a specific language for the descriptors of performance level increases the chances that multiple faculty members will apply the rubric in a similar manner or determine what the different levels of performance look like within each criteria. Sixth is try out the rubric on a few students with several raters to see if the rubrics works and gets.
That's it for our reporting for today, or that's it for our rubrics as an assessment tool. Thank you and have a wonderful day, classmates. And I hope you learned a lot from our discussion and from our PowerPoint as well.